This episode, number 44, is one that I'm really excited about. And one of the things that I enjoy the most is that this is an episode that was recommended to me by somebody in the industry. They told me about this project. They said is something I needed to know and need to share with the rest of the industry. And that's one of the things that I've been stressing so much is that I want to know what you as the listeners want to hear or that needs to be shared. And episode 44 is all about that. It's the project, the house that she built. But we go beyond that. We talk about women in the industry. We talk about recruiting. We talk about the youth of the industry. And there's so much value here. And I know you, the listeners, are going to get just as much out of it as I did, as together we are building the future. This is the Building the Future podcast. I am your host, the lumberjack, Brett Thorne. On this show, we explore topics including construction, building materials, real estate, remodeling, the housing market, industry news, new products and trends, technology, government, everything you need for building the future. Welcome back to the Building the Future podcast. I am your host, Brett Thorne. And something you've heard me talk a lot about and that I think is up and coming, it is needed, it is necessary, is females in our industry. And on this episode, I am with Natalie Miles of The House That She Built. Natalie, welcome to the show.
Hi there. Thank you so much for having me.
So I've got to ask, obviously, you are very passionate about females in the industry. How did you personally get into this construction building materials industry?
I grew up in construction. I've always been around it. My dad, my brothers, my grandpas, my uncles, they are in construction. They're all into HVAC and plumbing. So I've always grew up around construction. I've always been really comfortable in construction. One of my first jobs in high school was I installed HVAC with my dad and my brother on a church building in California, and that was a lot of fun to be on site and be with my dad. At that age, I did realize that I'm the only girl here. My dad was very protective of me, of where I was at and where I was going and who I was talking to. And at a very young age, I was drawn to construction, but at the same time, I was very aware that there weren't any other women in construction. Fast forward, I got married, had kids, stay home mom, and kind of after some time, I started to find my way back into the construction industry. I got into the design side of things and was specking out finishes and colors and products for new builds. And that was where I was really, really passionate about. I really love the idea of seeing a pile of dirt on the ground and looking at some plans and be able to make all the selections that would make that home beautiful. And I just have such a passion for that. And I love the construction industry. While going through that and learning how to do that, I would be on the job site a lot of times and doing walkthroughs, meeting with electricians, HVAC, finished carpenters, and realizing that I was the only woman that was ever on these job sites. And I was okay with that. I'm very comfortable on the job site. I'm very comfortable having a conversation with somebody as I'm learning when I want to do a specific sort of design on the home, and I'm talking to the plumber about how I want that look, and he tells me, "Well, we can't do that because we're already this far along, and this has to happen at this point of the process." And so I always took those opportunities to always learn and to be always be able to communicate with the subcontractors about how things worked and what the process is of making selections and making a home beautiful. I really actually learned on site how to to basically build a home and make those selections and that sort of thing. I heard through my local home builders association, which I've been a member of for a very long time, that there was a new chapter called Professional Women in Building starting up in our area. And I was like, whoa, professional women in building? Like are there really like a handful of girls that do what I do? Because I've always just
There's
been by
one more.
myself.
One more, Natalie.
Like, there's somebody out there. And like I know that there's agents and title officers and different things in finance and the sales end of things. But I didn't realize that there were women that were more on the construction side of things. So I went to this initial get together and meeting and met like other amazing women, women that were general contractors, women that own businesses that were painters or whatnot. And I was like, whoa, this is so cool. I found my people. Like I don't feel so alone. And it was so amazing to find that there was an actual group of women that do what I do, and that I could feel like I now had like my own network of people that I could call, that I could rely on, when it came to the trades, or even just other females too. Sometimes you just got to complain. You had a bad day, and be like, man, this
Sure.
homeowner. Can we talk about this? And I just found this amazing community, and that's kind of how I got into women in construction and professional
Mhm.
women in building is through that route. It just kind of snowballed and here we are.
Yeah, and it's I love that you tell the story that you kind of grew up in it. Your family was in it. Your father, your grandfather. Because it's such a linear industry that it doesn't matter if you're male, female, whatever. This is an industry that truly does get passed down through generations. It seems like I see it a lot. A lot of the people I talk to, are in it because their family was in it. It's part of a family business, or they had a father or grandfather or somebody else in it, and it's great to hear that. It really is an industry that gets passed down. It's a trade that gets handed down through the years. I mean, because you look at so many other industries, and it's one generation's in it, but then all the generations behind it have nothing to do with it. Whether it's IT, or even a pharmaceutical. Sales is sales. You can sell in a lot of different industries, but to be industry specific, you just don't see that like you do in the construction and building materials industry.
Right. And when it's modeled in your life and you see that growing up, that my family, my dad, my grandpa, my brothers, man, they have great careers. And when you get that hands-on experience because of that's what you're raised around, then you can find out for yourself, like, you know what, this is kind of cool. I can see why he does that. I can see why he does what he does and goes to work every single day. So I think that's really fortunate to grow up in the industry, because then you can see the pros of it, right? So I was really fortunate in that way to see that. And at the same time, my dad at a very young age would take me to the shop and just let me hang out in the shop and play with his tools, and his buddies would come in and out of the shop, and I learned at a very young age to talk shop, be comfortable around males, and to be able to joke around with them at a very young age. And that is a huge bonus for me in my career, especially as a female, to be able to be on a job site and to be comfortable on the job site. That's not easy for a lot of people, but I'm very fortunate because of my upbringing that was part of my life, and that's something I've always been really comfortable doing.
Yeah, and it's such a great industry. I mean, it has so much to offer. But I can see how and I've always said, sometimes our industry can be just a little bit rough around the edges, but it truly is. It's humble people, it's good-hearted people. Yeah, maybe sometimes they get a little carried away, but they have the best intentions. Maybe they don't express it always the best, and sometimes they get maybe a little emotional. You hear a lot of language out there on job sites that's again just a little bit rough around the edges. Uh-oh, you're one of those?
I'm one of those. Yeah, I have to
Well, you kinda
clean up
grew
my
up in it,
mouth a little
what?
bit when I
Hey.
get home.
Hey, you had to fend for yourself. I can understand that, so good for
Right? Yeah.
you. You can hold
Yep.
your own.
Yeah, definitely.
So, talking about the job site, you are on a project called The House That She Built. This is something I was fascinated with. Enlighten us on that, Natalie, please, for me and for the listeners. Tell us all about this project.
The house that she built was a life-changing project that I had the opportunity to be a part of. So when I was telling you earlier about becoming a member of Professional Women in Building and starting our own council here in Utah, which it is a national organization. And so each area within their home builders association can have a professional women in building council. So we were a new council. There was some roundtable discussion right before I joined and got involved with it, but it was a room full of people discussing what is our goal, what is our mission as professional women in building in Utah. And it kept coming up that, man, we really want to educate younger generations about the amazing jobs that are in construction and the lack of females that are in those jobs. So we would really like to get in the education system and draw more women into the trades. And so that became a clear goal, what we wanted to do. And then the conversation turned, wow, wouldn't it be really neat if we could create a scholarship fund that would get younger generations excited about coming to these careers, but also excited that there are scholarship funds available for them to pursue those careers. And then that rolled into, well, how do we do that? And somebody threw out there, they said, oh, you guys should build a home all by females. That would be kind of cool. And everybody in the room was kind of like, yeah, that'd be kind of cool. Let's see, like, I'm a general contractor, you're a general contractor. We know this person, we know that, just kind of started naming off people that maybe we knew, like, maybe we can pull this off. Well, we had somebody in the room that said, nah, you guys can't really build a home all by females. And we're like,
Challenge
we
accepted.
can we? We accept that challenge. So we put together as a young council, we did not have a lot of members on our council, but the women that were involved at this point, very rock solid, intelligent, amazing women. And we started forming committees. I signed up to be in charge of material donations. I happen to have a really good way of asking people to give me things. So I was in
I
charge
have
of
a feeling you're
material
very effective
donations.
at it too.
I did a material donations. Another friend, she was in charge of finding labor and volunteers. We put out assignments. We picked somebody that would be our general contractor on it, and we went to work. It took us about a year and a half prior to even breaking ground to make this work. Our biggest struggle was trying to find a lot that somebody would give to us at cost, at a discount, something along those lines. And we finally found a lot. We found it was Oakwood Homes partnered with us, and they said we think this is an amazing project. We really would like to help you out with this, and so they put us in one of their master plan subdivisions. And September 2020, we broke ground, and leading up to this, we were talking to many women, to many manufacturers to make sure that we had women involved, that we had materials, and we did hit some roadblocks. Definitely, COVID, that was really fun. Where all of a sudden then we had manufacturers that were willing to give us product, but when it came to the time that we needed that project,
In
it was
6
like,
months, yeah.
oh. hmm like, oh man, wow, we either don't have it in our budget to donate anymore, or we no longer have access to product. And it was a roller coaster ride up and down of, man, I don't think we have anything, to the next day I would have a phone call being said, man, I heard what you ladies are doing in Utah. We want on this. Do you have anybody donating your doors or your appliances? And it was a really amazing thing. We had almost all the material on this job donated to us, including lumber. We had
And
some amazing
September
backers
of
that supported us.
2020, let's face it, that's the
Mhm.
highest lumber numbers we have ever seen.
Right. All of our lumber was donated. We didn't pay for a stick of lumber. We were very, very fortunate. And then when it came to our female volunteers, man, that turned out to be very difficult. We 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 would we did everything in our power to find women to come work on this job. And as we're trying to find women to work on this job, it was a huge eye opener about how little women are in the industry. And we actually pulled in women from other states that would want to come work with us. But there were some trades that we could not find women to come work on this project, or women that did not work in that industry. And so we had some things set up, some stipulations where if we couldn't find a female to come and work on the job, then we would look for a women owned company, and so that we could recognize and support her women owned company. If we couldn't find that, then we would ask some of our male colleagues to come and do the work, but teach us how to do it and let us work alongside with you so we could learn a new trade. And it was around this time that we realized that, man, there was a huge shortage of women, number one, but number two, we found out that this has never been done before in the nation. There has never been a home built by all female trade labor. There's other organizations that have a lot of women involved, and women build days, women build weeks, and they're fantastic. We love them for what they do. But come to find out that what we're doing has never been done before. We're doing as a nonprofit. We're asking for labor volunteers. We're asking for material donations. People thought we were crazy, but
Well,
we
yeah, let's
ended
just see
up,
how much harder and more difficult and challenging we can make this.
right? And not only that, we committed to putting it into a parade of homes. So we had a deadline. This wasn't just something that, as we could find volunteers to do or had material to do it, we had an actual deadline that we were working for. And we ended up building this home. We broke ground September 2020. We finished it in May 2021. So within 8 months, we built a home based on donations, volunteers, and the sweat of our neck. We did it, and we did it with about 92, 93% all women being the laborers on this job. It was incredible. It was groundbreaking. It's We had so many amazing experiences on this job. I could go on and on about stories about experiences that we had on this job, but we did it. We built this house. We built the house that she built.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I first want to congratulate you. I mean, it just sounds like you had just so much working against you on this. I mean, especially you look at the pandemic and you look at, like you talked about the labor source, the shortage of females in there, and then all the different supply lines and everything. It just sounds like it was obstacle after obstacle. So let me ask, what, now that you've got it done, now that it's behind you, what do you think are the greatest takeaways you got from that project?
The greatest takeaways that I took from the project
Mhm.
is that I am part of this amazing project, this amazing platform that is now able to change the lives of other people. I didn't realize when we were working on this home how big of a deal this will be, how big of a difference this is going to make for women in the industry. We had our blinders on. We were thinking about Utah. We were thinking about these scholarship funds we're going to provide, and now it's going to be fun to go visit high schools and junior highs and get girls excited about this. We had no idea on a national level what an impact this would make, and that fills my heart so much that we are being seen everywhere, from podcasts on interviews. We have a children's book. We had a children's book. Have you heard of our children's book?
No. That's
we
amazing.
we inspired a children's book. It's called The House That She Built. It's written by Molly Elkman, and she's always wanted to write a children's book. And based off of our project, what we did, she wrote a children's book, and it's available on Amazon, through Target. But this book is a picture book, and it shows all these different jobs being performed by women. And we're hoping to use this now as an education tool in elementary schools, libraries across the nation, where at a very young age, little girls will be able to pull out a book and see these amazing jobs and careers at a very, very young age. It's never been done before. For us to walk away from this job knowing that we've made an impact and that we can change lives, we can change the dialogue from a very young age by building this home by women. That is huge. That is huge. And that's my biggest takeaway from this job is how much of an impact that not only are we making here locally, but nationally, we are able to make that impact on younger generations.
And what about on the flip side of that? Is there anything that you learned during this experience that you would say, "I will never do that again"?
That's a great question. Do you know what? I don't know that there were really negative experiences from it. It was hard.
Mhm.
I think that if we were to do this again, I would love to have more council members and more women involved that could kind of take some of the reins and take some of the pressure off of some of us that were there almost every day and on the weekends and the evenings, because this was all volunteer for us as well. We all have our regular full-time jobs, our general contractors on it, our designers, our everybody involved with this. We have full-time jobs and we have families, and we were there almost every day. So the thing that I would do different is to maybe have more people involved, so that it didn't take so much from us personally. But
Mhm.
besides that, I mean, there really wasn't any negative impacts about it. This was such a great building experience to build friendships and relationships and to be able to put our talents into something meaningful. It was really an amazing experience all the way around. There wasn't anything negative about it besides that it took a lot of our personal time.
Sure. And since you guys have got it completed, now you're getting all the exposure and stuff. I mean, have you had people reach out to say, "Hey, if you do this again, I want to be a part," or "How can we help?" Is it now that it's completed and you guys have proven what you can do and you can put your stamp on it, is it influencing more projects or similar projects to this?
Yes, it is, absolutely. What we're trying to do right now is kind of write the guidebook of how this worked, what didn't work, what our recommendations would be for it. Because we have nationally, a lot of people love this project. A lot of people would love to be involved somehow. Here in Utah, will we do that again? Maybe, but it's going to take some time to get to that point to do that again. But we would love for everybody in their markets and their cities to do the same sort of project. Because can you imagine that if we have a house that she built in all major states, major cities, and they've kind of followed our model for the reason to promote women in construction, to inspire younger generations to go into the trades, but then to provide a scholarship fund for those younger generations to be able to accomplish that. What a huge difference that would make if we could repeat this in so many different areas. That really is our goal, is to be able to bring this to other communities and to other states so that they can copy what we did. We would love that.
And I'm just kind of maybe thinking out loud here. What's the best way to do that? I mean, do you look at like vocational programs? Do you talk to different associations? How have you guys been trying to, I guess, and maybe even in the process of the first one, finding people, finding the skilled labor and the talent source and stuff? How are you guys addressing these things, which obviously then could be rolled into moving forward? What channels and avenues of information were you using?
I think there's a couple of ways that this could be accomplished.
Mhm.
For us, it worked really well for us to do it within our home builders associations because
Mhm.
we already had that network of people. You already had those relationships with people when it came to, do you know somebody who does this? Do you know a female painter? There's already that built into a home builders association for referrals such as that and the support from your local home builders association. That works really well for us. Another way that we could see this working is through a tech college of sorts, where they have women and students coming through their program, but maybe they do that on a smaller scale. A lot of tech colleges will build like a tiny house and have their own little projects that they work on through their programs. And that's a way that we could do that too, is that we could get women excited. We can give away scholarships to high school kids to go through a tech program. And then when they're in that tech school, we would love to partner with tech schools and bring a bunch of women out to the job site and mentor these girls and show them how to do things from women that do that as a profession. And that's something that we've been talking to different colleges here locally about being a part of their program and doing maybe smaller projects with them um, through that. And I think that's a great opportunity to get women excited to to get more areas involved is to maybe through the tech schools and through their programs.
Okay. Let me ask you this, and maybe we should, from that aspect, take a step back even a little bit further and look at it, maybe a little more introductory to that, and just talk about getting females excited or interested or educated on this industry and the opportunities there are. So maybe pre-tech school, pre learning programs. How do we even initiate that to get the spark lit to let them know what this industry has to offer them?
We had such a fun experience a couple of months ago where we were invited by a local Girl Scout council to come and talk about the house that she built, to share a book. And within the Girl Scouts, through the STEM program, there there actually is a program about building and getting women excited about building. I got a We can build it. They have a badge in Girl Scouts. And so we had this fun little evening where Lowe's Lowe's donated a bunch of birdhouses. You can get birdhouse kits from a lot of different places. We went to this Girl Scout council. We talked about following instructions and how in our jobs we have a set of instructions and they are plans and this is what they look like and we need to follow directions when we build a house because this could happen, this could happen. We talked about following instructions on their little birdhouses. So we work with them to build these little birdhouses, and then we read them the book about the house that she built. We showed them pictures about the house that we built and all the women that worked on it. And they were sent home this little activity with this little cutout of a floor plan and little pieces of furniture they could put in there and how they would decorate it and how they would divide rooms and things like that. And the feedback that we got from that one meeting with these Girl Scouts, it warms my heart every day. Because all these girls, all of a sudden, at this young age, they're thinking about when they're growing up, they're going to be a nurse, they're going to be a teacher, they're going to be a dance teacher, like all these things that are taught to girls at a very young age because that's what they see. That's the kind of toys they are given when they're kids. Those are the kind of books that they read. Those are kind of the roles that girls fall into. Those are kind of their dreams and their visions for when they grow up. So at this very young age, 8, 9-year-old girls, we're showing them something different. We're showing them like how cool is it to build a house? How fun of it is it to use a hammer? How fun is it to design the space? And the feedback from these girls since then about how much fun they had and now they want to be an architect when they grow up, when they want to be a work with their hands and work with tools when they grow up. We had so much positive feedback from this one little experience. I think we have something between 25, 30 more troops from across the nation. They're like, hey, we want to do that. Come and do that with us. And so, yeah, at a very young age, we can make an impact before high school, before the tech schools. At a very young age, we need to model and show these girls that there are different options for them for their futures. We do not need to fit into this stereotypical thing of what boys do and what girls do. We're buying boys at a young age tool sets, trucks. We're buying girls at a young age cash registers, Barbie dolls, doctor kits. Not that in those careers are wrong, but what are we showing our girls at a very young age what they're capable of doing? There's so many other opportunities for them. And by being part of the house that she built, man, I got to be part of that. I got to be part of changing that dialogue and showing younger generations what they can be, opening their minds to something different. And what an impact it's been making on such a large scale and such a short time.
Yeah, I would agree, and it goes beyond just girls and females. As a matter of fact, we have a vocational program here in one of our communities, and I'm one of the advisors on their building trades part of the vocational program. I mean, they do so many other things there, which is so much value. And we just met last night for their annual stuff, and that was such a big topic of how do we just get people involved, young people involved. You know what I mean? You look at all across the industry and all the different trades. I mean, they're all screaming for help, whether it's electricians, plumbers, HVACs, general contractors. You know, the labor side, even, and I'm more on the supply side, on the retail and the materials side, and we're just having a hard time filling gaps. I mean, there's not a lot of backfill to fill the voids of when people are leaving. There's so much tenure. This is such a great industry. Like you talked about your father, your grandfather, and a lot of them are retiring out, and rightfully so. They've earned it. And we just don't have the youth there to backfill that. And it's going to be a problem. We were discussing this last night. Um, how do we get kids interested in this? You know, how, and maybe more importantly, how do we get parents interested in this so they're telling their kids that, you know, this is a great option. This is a viable option for a career. You know, not to say college is bad. I mean, college is a great thing. You know, is it for everybody? No, of course not. Extended education or continued learning is a great thing. Maybe it's not in a college, maybe it's in a vocational program, you know, learning some of these skills. And let's face it, I mean, it's sad to say, but you know, we're kind of on a path now that we don't have the skilled labor source out there, and soon you're going to see some of those trades like HVAC, like licensed electricians. They're going to start making doctors' wages and attorneys' wages. And once you see that happen, now people are like, oh boy, look at all the money that can be made over there. But unfortunately, by that point, it's too late. We've got to be much more proactive than that. We've got to start backfilling that with younger generations, you know, letting them know the options that are there. So I love that you're talking about doing this, and I love that you're starting them at a young age. And the feedback you're getting from the Girl Scouts, the organization, and I'm sure the parents of the impact you're having on their kids—that's phenomenal. I mean, that's such a great way to do it.
Yeah, and I think you really hit the nail on the head with the comment about how do we get parents excited about this? How do we get
Mhm.
guidance counselors excited about this? Right? So not only do we need to make an impact on younger generations and kids about great jobs and futures that are in the construction trades, but also getting parents on the same page, guidance counselors on the same page. It's like, look, there are a lot of kids that are not college bound, and that's okay. Let's not stress them out about having to have the perfect tests on ACT scores and SAT and all these requirements that they need to go to college. Like, if that's your path, absolutely do that, you know? But let's get them excited about careers in construction. Let's get them excited about going to a tech school. You know, that's where I am at too. How do we get them excited about that? How do we get guidance counselors and parents excited about their kids going to the construction trades, right?
Absolutely. And I think, you know, and this is kind of maybe a little bit more big picture, but I've said, you know, this a silver lining to this pandemic is it has really revitalized the people's vision of their home. How important their home is, the value of their home, what it provides to them and their family. You know, before people would spend evenings there, spend nights there, spend some weekends there, but the majority of their time was spent, you know, traveling, or I guess majority of time was spent at work, away at an office or something like that. And then they, you know, they would travel or do stuff on the weekends. But now that everybody's been home 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, people now say, wow, my home is very, very important. And if I can't find somebody to fix it up, and if I don't have the skills to do it, you know, it is really given people a different vision of what the home is and the value that is. And I hope that this is going to trigger some stuff for some people to think, yeah, this is critical. You know, having a roof over your head is very important. I mean, it ranks right up there with oxygen. I don't know if people think about it that way, but it is very, very critical. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love technology. I love having new gadgets and stuff, but you know, I can go quite a while without the newest cell phone. You know, I lose my house and I'm living on the street. Yeah, you know what? Life's gonna be pretty rough for a while. So there is so much relevance to what we do,
And I think we've got to get that message across, and we've got to let everybody know that. And not only that, there's so many avenues of opportunity. I mean, there's just so much that goes into this industry. I mean, it's not black and white. It's not one level. I mean, there's just, from the construction side, the manufacturing side, from the supply side, the logistics side, the planning side. I mean, there's just so many different avenues people can take. Look at me, I'm getting on a little bit of a. You're getting me all fired up here,
Right?
Natalie. I'm
I
getting.
know. I'm like, it never
You're the one
ends.
supposed to be
There's
talking.
such a need. It never ends. There is such a need. And there's so many different levels, like you were just saying, where people can pursue a career in the construction industry. There's so many different levels to that. And with the shortages that we have in the construction industry, we really need to be thinking outside of the box. And that's where I think women are a great opportunity to start filling in that role. Women only make up 3% of the workforce when it comes to construction trades. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah,
Women are
it's
so capable
yeah,
of doing so many of these jobs, whether it
it's
is like you're
beyond
saying, like on the
crazy.
manufacturer side, on the logistics, on the supplier end, on the planning, on boots on the ground. I mean, that's huge. That's a huge untapped. And not only for younger generations to look in that and to pursue that, but there's a huge untapped resource of women and women that are re-entering the workforce
Hmm.
and so that's something to think about. Women that have been home, they've been stay-at-home moms, or they've tried different careers and got burned out on them, and now they want to do something else. And that's a great resource too, is women re-entering the workforce. And so that's something that we're hoping to do too. Not only are we trying to get into the education system and offer scholarships to younger generations, but we would love to offer those scholarships and even grants to women that are trying to re-enter the workforce. I mean, there's so many different avenues, and there's so many different layers when it comes to construction, that there is a place for everybody. There really is.
Yeah, not only a place, there's a need.
Yeah. A desperate need.
Yes, very much so.
Right? Yeah.
So, if
Yeah.
listeners want to find out more about what you've done, your project, what's the best way to do that?
So they can look us up at www.utahpwb.com. And from there, you can look up the house that she built. We have a gallery on there of our beautiful home that we built, and our different resources about our chapter are on that website. We're also on the social medias on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. If you look at the house that she built, you're gonna find us.
Yeah, that's all I did when I found you. I just Googled the house that she built and it popped right up. It was very
Yep.
simple.
Yeah, we've been really fortunate.
And Natalie, before I let you go, do you have any closing thoughts for the listeners?
In closing, I just really, really would like to encourage more women, more girls, more teenagers, women of all ages to really just consider a career in the construction industry. It looks it has many different faces of what it looks like to be in the construction industry. There are creative places. If you're a designer, if you're an architect, there are if you like to work with your hands, you could, man, being a finished carpenter, that would be fun. That's something I would really love to learn. But creating just beautiful things. If you're creative, there's a place. If you're logical, man, engineering, there are endless jobs for women in construction. And if you're thinking about it, try it, do it. If you think there's not a place for you, I promise there are. Find those women. Look into your local professional women in building councils. Find those women, find those networks. There is a place for women in this industry. And not only that, there are wonderful men in this industry that love having women work alongside with them, that love and support women in the industry. They're out there. I think construction gets a bad rap that it's not friendly for women. I think a lot of things have changed over the years. I think men are excited to have women in the trades. They know that the different perspective and attention to detail that women can bring to a job, men realize it. It's predominantly men. it is what it is, but we can change that, and we should never be worried that is a men only dominated field. There's a place for women in that, and there are great men that support us and want us to be there too. And that's a huge takeaway from this too, is to not be intimidated by what is already out there. We're wanted and we're needed, and there is a place for women in construction.
I agree with you 100%. I said it time and time again that there is such a great place for women here. Just like you said, they bring so much to the table that guys maybe don't always possess, like the attention to detail, or, organizational skills, and, maybe a little bit more forward thinking and planning. And
Mhm.
let's face it, I'll admit to it, I'm terrible about that. And I know a lot of guys that are too, because we don't always think about what we're going to need next week and the week after. We're right here, what's in front of us. But such a a key thing. Natalie, I want to thank you again for taking time today, and I want to thank you for everything that you have done and are continuing to do for building the future of this industry.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on.
This is the Building the Future podcast. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe. Please like and share. You can find out more at our website, www.buildingthefuturepodcast.com. Together we are building the future.